Once again, a very good afternoon to all of you. Friends, we are at the moment just recovering back for something which we never planned for. So I understand there's an excitement, there is a euphoria, and things which we really nobody in the world had a backup plan for. So every one of us is caught on a backseat. Everyone was shocked. Everyone was surprised. But the challenges was, and I'm sure we all have sailed through. One of the aspects which I deal with in terms of business is the basically international business, and as export and import is something which gets impacted because of pandemic on a larger spectrum. If you would understand that if a domestic business got impacted to X times, international business, the exports and the imports have got impacted 10x. The reason being is very simple, that we are not only looking at the demand and the supply of our domestic markets, but we are also looking at the global scenario. And everywhere across the world, whether it is right or wrong, whether we are doing it rightly or wrongly, but the things is not as we intended it should be. This is not what we forecasted for a quarter one or a year 2020 to be. And yes, on a very lightest note, we all want a reset for 2020. But apart from that, we also have to look at it that whatever has happened. How are we going to look at it in future? How are we going to look at it or deal with it now? And on a long term strategy, what can we look at from a perspective for a global business? Today we are going to talk and focus only on imports, and that's going to be my presentation for the day. We will, as Manmeet mentioned, we will be taking up questions at the end of the session. So without further ado, let me pull you out and start with a presentation which is been designed exclusively for you. All right. Um, I believe the presentation is seen to all of you. And as we move further, so we are going to talk about import. And yes, there is going to be certain challenges. Let me not, I mean, I don't want to be a very, a discouraging person, but let's be honest that yes, import is going to have certain impact. The real sense or the heart of the story is imports is going to have some challenges. It's not that it will not have, the exports will not have it, but the focus of the country is going to be, the focus of the government is to be try and more of export and reduce as much as import possible. So if I have to just give you an overview of what we are going to discuss today, we're going to try and look at the global trade, what has been happening over the past couple of months. Where is India positioned with the current status of the trade? What has changed in terms of the compliance due to COVID? And that's the advantage which India, I would say, the government machineries had taken up very, very aggressive steps in giving us a lot of relaxation in terms of compliances. Procedural relaxations have been kept in place, though many of them are now soon ending. They are all going to be terminated, but there were a lot of relaxations and there are continues for import as well as exports. And finally, let's look at the future. Let's look at what's in store for the things to come, or the days or the months and the year to come forward. As we may like it, but to be very honest, 2020 is still a long drawn year to be completed. So let's start with the overall global trade. uh, the WTO has said that there's an expected fall of about 13 to 32% in the world trade on account of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the normal economic life and activity has been impacted severely. If we look at a very small percentage of 5-10% here and there, it changes a lot. But today we are talking about global downfall from anything between 13 to 32%, which is a really big gap in terms of the figures. And I'm sure this would be kept on revising as we move further into 2020. More or less all regions of the world are going to face a double-digit decline in terms of volumes. Now, this is one of the biggest issue when it comes to international business. A lot of us and a lot of the governments and a lot of the focus is on starting up industry. I understand that. The manufacturing, the production, the economic cycle has to start. However, especially with imports, and if I have to connect with that, is the demand and the volumes will only start when the fear or the normalcy in the life will come back. And once the volume starts, I think the growth will start automatically. At the moment, we see a very, very double digit or a high decline, especially from the North America and the Asian market. Uh, and obviously, as we see, there is a trade likely steeper in complex sectors like electronics and automotive products. One of the basic or one of the major hit segment apart from the service industries in terms of the airlines and the tourist and other aspects, tourisms, is going to be the high-end goods. So electronics, electrical commodities, automotive products, expensive stuff. They are going to feel the hit. Money going to be consumed by a lot of us. So that's even what is the global trade. In fact, the WTO Director General, Mr. Robert Azevedo, does mention that it's an unavoidable decline in the trade and outputs will have painful consequences for household and business on top of the human suffering caused by the disease itself. So there is going to be decline. So let's be realistic. The message is very, very clear at the WTO level, at the global level, which then percolate to at an individual company level. We are going to look at declines. So let's not be in a bubble. Let's not be in a myth that my business is still going to grow with that 10, 20, 15% of growth which I had earlier projected. We will have to recalibrate it. We will have to rework on that and see the least decline we are able to achieve in terms of the exports or imports in our local business. The UNDP also mentions about a 3% fall in the first quarter itself. Estimated decline on quarter is about 27%. And commodity prices have recorded 20% on March, driven by the oil prices. We all know the oil price situation. And this is another segment and another authentic source which talks about the global decline across the world. So we also have to again focus on these specific numbers. This may keep on changing. Now, many of the times it remembers, and I get this, sir, why are we looking at the global numbers? Whatever this is going to do is not going to give me any bread and butter in my company. Friends, the global numbers are going to give you an overall picture, the overall scenario of the world or how things are happening. You are no different. You are part of that ecosystem. And with a global trade, the import business, you are very, very much affected with the global aspects completely. Coming to India, India's import for the month of April, we have seen a decline for about 58.65% in dollar terms and about 54% in terms of the rupee terms. So a very, very high decline in terms of imports. But yes, there's a corresponding decline in exports as well, but we are focusing on imports today. So very strong decline. And yes, it is obviously the decline is apart from everything else, apart from the lockdown, it is again with the demand. Major commodities which have affected, and right on top, as you can see, electronic goods. We've just discussed about that this is the sector which is going to have a major hit. So electronic goods, 62%, almost 63%. Then comes petroleum. Because of lockdown, you had major factories, major travel, tourism, major movement restricted with the petrol and price crisis. Petroleum and crude products had another hit. Machine and electrical and non-electrical items constitute the rest of the things. Coke and other items, organic, inorganic chemicals compound to about 35% decline. So all in all, if you look at the top 5 products which were generally imported, I mean, I've seen these stats issued by the ministry every month. We are waiting for the May figures, but every month we've always seen a growth. We've seen these figures talking in positive. We were always looking at how much import more we are doing. And suddenly we are looking at a completely reverse cycle. We are looking at a negative figures and a huge amount of figures. So India's trade is impacted. Your import is going to get impacted. You will have stuff which is going to be there in your stock. You'll have issues. You'll have delivery issues. You have transport issues. So many logistical challenges. So what is the impact during the COVID? What has happened in terms of compliances? And I'm going to focus on this a slightly little detailed. Maybe it may look at the nuances, but it makes a lot of importance to give you a perspective that in spite of all of these, the government, the customs, with all due credit, had really put in place a lot of processes, compliance issues, which were, I would say, pro-importer. So all kudos and all compliments to the organizations who had implemented or were into the implementation of these, that they didn't. Let's start with the first one. They obviously, there was a 24/7 customs, but they had implemented custom clearance 24/7 at all custom ports right through the pandemic. In fact, the 24/7 custom clearance is continued or will be continued till 30th of June 2020 as per the notification. And beyond June, the designated ones which are any which ways under 24/7 custom clearance, they will continue. A very interesting figure which has come across by the CBIC, that almost around 2,90,200 plus bill of entries were cleared during the pandemic position. So please understand, when we were at lockdown, where we were stuck, when we were at home, the customs was working, the import clearance were happening, the out of charges were given. Now I completely agree, and I know when I say this, a lot of people will say, sir, but the problem was the goods were not coming to my factory. There was a congestion, there was a delay, there was a transport. I understand. There's an entire logistics aspect to this, but let's acknowledge the fact which was available to you, and it is available even now. Let me be very clear and concise. I get a lot of queries on this. That is this import allowed? Am I allowed to import from China? Am I allowed from this to import? Friends, there is no restriction as far as import is concerned in terms of which goods to bring in, whether essential, non-essential, the entire cargo, whatever be the cargo, as per the norms, as per the rules and regulations, they are allowed. You are allowed to pay the duties, you are allowed to clear the cargo, and we are currently having 24/7 custom clearance. There could be limitations. We are still observing social distancing. We are still not into complete normalcy. We are still observing limited staff. We are still observing limited manpower, challenges at various specific ports. So there could be a little delay here and there, but there could be certain challenges in terms of the loaders and the manpower, because many of them have gone back to their native place post the opening up and the movement of them allowed. So there is challenge with that, but please understand that's a challenge which is completely on a second aspect. Principally, there is no problem, no restriction as far as imports or complying of the imports is concerned. Very important and interesting thing which has come up during this lockdown. As for the import, one of the very important criteria which was amended in 2017 was that within a stipulated time, you are required to file a bill of entry. If you do not file that, you are eligible, or you're supposed to pay a penalty or a late fee, as it is called as, for rupees 5,000 per day for first 3 days, and then rupees 10,000 for subsequent. So the later you file, the penalty keeps on increasing. And I remember this, that it is in fact almost impossible. There could be certain rare cases, but almost impossible to get that waived off, because it was very, very clear that the compliance has to be done whereby you could plan your import much well in advance, and the documentation could have been filed very, very well in advance. Looking at the situation of the lockdown and the challenges, the late fee was waived off from 20th of March 2020 itself. So from 20th of March, there were no late fee. If there were some challenges, there were trade notices from the ports and the public notices from the ports, whereby you could apply for a recredit or a refund of those late fees in case if they have been charged wrongly. But very categorically, the bill of entries from 20th of March, there were no late fee being levied on any of those kind of challenges in terms of the filing of the late fee. However, please understand, we are coming out of those compliance issues, in the sense that we are coming out of COVID. We are coming back. We want to go back to normalcy. And one of the very basic fundamental principles that when you want to go to normalcy, start doing something normal. So the late fee is now going to be only up to where the bill of entry or the IGNs have been filed up to 31st of May. And the waivers will only be available till 8th of June. So as we speak today, 9th June onwards, the late fee, the bill of entry is now going to be back in place. So again, don't go with the assumption that because it was happened with couple of imports which you just cleared in the lockdown situation, the latest update has amended that, especially at least with Nava 7. I'm sure with each other ports they have a specific public notice issued. So the last date of inward entry is 31st of May, and the bill of entry has to be filed by 8th of June. So as we speak today, from 9th June, if you file bill of entry and if it's not as per the regulation, the late fee will start applying. So we had the benefit, and now we have to go back to normalcy. So be very, very clear and aware of these changes. We have also implemented another very, very important compliance aspect. So whenever an import clearance happens, basically your custom clearance, custom broker, or a CHA as we used to call, has to move around, and there has to be a lot of paperwork to be done, especially with the out of charge and the gate pass, where physically the car container is going to come out of the CFS or the port. Now those paperwork with manual changing and manual handing over of each of those documents were a little challenge, even in terms of the lockdown, and in general it was becoming slightly cumbersome because you had to get the printouts done, make sure that it gets attested, and all sorts of other things. Now the customer has implemented the electronic PDF system based out of charge, e out of charge, and e gate pass. So as soon as the import has been assessed and the import has been cleared by the customs, the out of charge, post your duty and post all compliances, the out of charge and the gate pass will be generated online. It will be sent through the email of the registered importer and the CHA or the custom broker who is registered on the system based on your bill of entry. And based on that PDF, which would have a QR code, 2 QR codes to be precise, and based on those QR codes, the out of charge and the gate pass processes will be completely electronic rather than on manual. So this has been already implemented and the compliance has already been happening. So these are some procedural change or some compliances in terms of COVID which we have taken up. Now let me look at the relaxation and the procedural aspects to that extent. Now there's of course a fine line between a compliance and a procedure, but compliance is more or less like a policy in nature. Procedure is more like a an actual on ground reality kind of a thing. So the first and foremost thing is, you will aware that when you import goods under advance authorization or EPCG scheme, which is export related, there is an exemption of advance. There's an exemption on IGST and compensation cess. Now ideally this was only up to 31st of March 2020. However, just prior to lockdown, the GST Council had already taken a decision to extend it till 1 year. Now we already have a custom notification to support it. So as on today, for 1 more year, that is up to 31st of March 2021, there is an exemption on IGST and compensation cess if the import is coming under advance authorization, that is basically the raw materials, or the capital goods is coming under EPCG scheme. So the IGST and the compensation cess still remains to be exempted. One of a very important procedural relaxation, I feel, is been done by way of a waiver or relaxation. I'm not saying waiver, let me put it relaxation in terms of the bond. So many times when you clear your imports for certain, either it is duty related, either it is repairs related, whether it is some conditional import, whatever be the reason, you are required to give a bond. Bond requires you to be given on a stamp paper, endorse it, notarize it, and so on and so forth. Now, with this current situation, it is very, very difficult. So, suo motu, the custom had announced this, and there have been several notifications to give you an extension of this timeline. First and foremost, please understand there's a specific circular number 17 which gives you that in lieu of the bond, you can arrange undertaking on your letterhead. There is certain guidelines, certain procedures to be followed, which is supposed to be created on your letterhead, sent via email. So it's not just that it is not required, meaning blanket, yes, but there is some procedures to be followed. And once you follow those procedures, you don't need to at the moment give those notarized stamp paper bonds, but that declaration, that undertaking would be fine. Now that was over a period of time, depending upon how the lockdown increased, the time limit got extended, but as on date it has been extended until 15th of June. And so until 15th of June, whatever the bonds are required, you could give an undertaking, and then by 30th of June you have to exchange that with the actual bond duly notarized and on stamp paper. So that's another very, very important procedural advantage which has been given relaxation by the customs. And I see really a lot of importers getting benefited, because you are reducing the turnaround time. You don't need to wait for your clearance. You can give those as undertaking on your letterhead and clear your cargo without any detail. We all understand the need for material related to COVID and our health in India. So to support those requirements, and now this is I see as an opportunity, maybe for some I would see as a advantage, that if you are into any of these items which specifically deals with respiratory apparatus, ventilators, face masks, surgical masks, PPE kits, COVID-19 testing kits, or any of the raw materials if you are into manufacturing. So if any of these is there, then you have a good news that the basic customs duty and the health cess which is on that is exempted. So you do not pay. The cost of that becomes much cheaper. Obviously, we understand this is specific to the pandemic, and this is to encourage uh, importing of those items or manufacturing of those items into the country. So if you are into manufacturing or if you're into trading of any of these items, that's the advantage in terms of the procedural aspects you save on the duty. One good correction or a small change which was going to be impacting a lot of us in terms of where you were supposed to. So there is already a electronic sealing requirement when you export from your factory during factory stuffing. But if you are doing it from a warehouse, or if you are storing your goods at a bonded warehouse, either import or export, it was not done on electronic sealing basis. There was a manual seal. Now there was a circular and there was a guideline being proposed that electronic sealing will be implemented. In fact, that guideline or that notification was postponed until of July of 2020. However, it seems that there are a lot of challenges and a lot of stakeholder consultation is required. So as of now, two things have happened: that the e-sealing at the for the custom bonded warehouse the circular has been rescinded, meaning that will not happen either at 1st July or at any other date. And a draft circular has been proposed, and it is available on the website of CBIC, where you can provide suggestions. You can provide the necessary amendment or corrections. So it's a very holistic view which the customer is taking by taking the inputs from the industry. As always, we intend to give them. Another challenge which has been impacting many importers especially is when you import under free trade agreements. Now, for benefit of all and general public as our participants, let me give you an understanding that when you import some goods specifically as per the free trade agreement, then under that free trade agreement, depending upon whatever the concession is, instead of the normal customs duty of 10%, 7.5%, 5%, you end up paying much lesser duty, and you will be getting that advantage of that. So that's the advantage. So you get really an advantage of that duty structure based on the free trade agreement. However, one of the most important requirement for that duty claiming or the concessional claiming is the preferential certificate of origin, the preferential COO, which is signed or which is issued by the relevant authority in that country of supply. We have also started making it digital. We have also started issuing from the Indian side when we export online. So similarly, if in imports, now obviously there is a challenge by the supplier to get those physical certificates out. There was a challenge many of us were facing, is documents were not being able to come, the original documents, the original letters, the original certificate of origin. Hence, customs had given a relaxation or has given a relaxation whereby if you are getting any of these free trade agreement goods, you can do a provisional clearance. You had to subjectively give certain bond, and under that bond, you could clear the cargo at the provisional basis. And as soon as you get this original certificate of origin, and the digital certificate of origin would be considered. But as soon as you get original, you could submit that and clear the cargo. I mean, clear the bill of entry at a later and make it finalize the bill of entry. So that procedural advantage which was given in terms of the clearance, again, not forcing you to pay the duties, not asking you to do any specific hindrances, and allowing you that the cargo should be released as fast as possible, is something which was focused, I believe, at this procedural advantage which was given to each of the importer. Many of you as an importer would be a AEO, even as an exporter, or even as a clearing forwarding agent, you would be a LO, that is a logistic operator. So AEO certifications are the T1 and T2 are valid for 3 years. The T2 and sorry, I stand corrected with this typographical error. It has to be T3. So it's T1, T2 for 5 years, and T3 and LO, that is logistic operator, is for 5 years. Now, in case if your certificate was expiring either from between 1st of March to 31st of May, so many of your, probably if it is 1st of March, April, it is already expired, either expired or is going to expire, your validity has been extended till 30th of June. So till 30th of June, your AEO certification is valid. You can apply for a renewal. Obviously, that is with one exception, that there is no negative report already received by the customs, so that they cannot be granting you further. So unless you have a negative report, there should not be a problem. Your certificate is valid till 30th of June, that is end of this month, and by end of this month, you may want to get your AEO certifications renewed. Let's look further, and that's something which is looking beyond next after the COVID. We have almost inched back, starting to normalcy. We've started with going back to offices with limited staff, with all other conditions. So what are we looking at in a future, or in the new, as we say, after Corona AC period of business? Couple of things which is going to become a routine, a norm, is we're going to be focusing on maximum online and digital transaction, paperless transactions. So most of the processes will become online. So as an importer, even though you assume or your maximum processes are taken care by your custom broker, my humble suggestion would be that you will have to have a certain infrastructure in place, certain processing and certain understanding in place, whereby you can understand the digital medium, the paperless processes, how things are going to happen. Because day by day, we are moving through a seamless online connectivity with various procedures and processes which are going to happen. This is obviously going to be ease of doing business, simplified processes, easy, quick. We've seen at various government departments which are moving online. I mean, apart from import as well, there are n number of options and procedures and issues which have been now moved on a simple ease of doing business model online. Yes, there will be a focus on Make in India, and to see how that is going to be in that is already been placed.
Mihir, I would like to just interrupt. We lost you a bit there, and your presentation. If you can share it once again.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's why.
Right.
Give me 1 second, please.
Sure. Till then, we have received certain questions. So for everyone else, also the attendees, you guys can please share your questions. The presentation will get over in the next 10 minutes. So we'll just start addressing all the questions.
Yeah, I'm able to, are you able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so I think the disconnection happened at the right time. This is the way forward. So the way forward is going to be digital, way forward is going to be online, and there are going to be certain untoward and unwarranted interruptions like these. So My apologies in terms of the connection in case it got lost and I was thrown out. But so what we were referring to is this IceGate portal, which has been already in place for the imports and the customs, where most of the things are happening online, paperless. We've already implemented the e-Sanchit and the Turant customs model already in the customs. So that is already implemented, and this is going to be on day-to-day basis, which is happening. Uh, I always get, and I'm getting every day queries and issues or questions saying that, so what is going to happen with imports? Are we going to face a lot of challenges? There's a lot of clash, or there's a lot of euphoria or a lot of buzz that imports will be banned or restricted, or there'll be a lot of duties and stuff like that. Well, to be very honest, I cannot predict the future, but yes, there is going to be some impact. Let's be honest of this. Let's not be, just put a curtain over it that I know I don't want to see the facts. There is going to be. In fact, there are a lot of already been happening in terms of the anti-dumping duty measures. So if you look at import of acetone, that has been put an anti-dumping duty till October of 2020. Import of sodium citrate from China, the anti-dumping duty is put for 5 years. Electronic calculators, which are not having printers, they have been put under anti-dumping duty from China and Malaysia for 5 years. Uh, Acrylic fibers, again from Thailand, anti-dumping duty for 6 months. Hot roll flat products of stainless steel, uh, importing from China, Malaysia, Korea, they have been extended for 6 months. So that's another anti-dumping duty which has been. So if you look at this, yes, these are big terms, or these are ways where there is going to be a little bit of restriction, which has been impacted or which has been imposed by the government. But we also have to look at it that it is it's going to be a balance between two, because I am a very strong believer that most of manufacturers and make in India and manufacturing to grow will require certain import components, certain import items. To have a strong offering to the consumer, a variety and options to the consumer, you will have require import. You cannot just shun shops by saying we will not import. At the same time, please understand, we are a member of WTO. Any act, any working will be always being watched by the WTO. We cannot just say, I'm not going to buy anything from anywhere in the world. I'm just going to be exporting. That's not how it's going to work. Certain things are going to be our need. So we cannot completely say, oh, we're going to be shutting shops of imports. We're not going to be allowing. But yes, there is going to be impact. There are going to be challenges. We have to face each and every week, a month, 10 days, year, a couple of months, quarter, and see how things are happening around the globe. It's not just India. It is, the other political and other economical situations across the world, which is going to happen. In fact, one of the coolest thing which has just happened, and it's going to be implemented over a period of time until December, is that we are now also going to have the faceless assessment of your bill of entry as when you import. There was already been a process being initiated way back in 2019. They were done some pilot studies. The pilot study was successful. Now there's already a full-fledged live notification being issued to start working. But obviously, we cannot just jump onto a faceless assessment. We will move on to first assessment even in phases. The first phase has already been begun at the port of Bengaluru and Chennai, especially for chapters 84 and 85, so engineering items, machineries and engineering. So, and slowly and steadily, it will across go pan-India, and all your bill of entry will be then assessed by a system-driven assessment, where who will be the officers will be across anybody who would not know who you are and how you are and what you are. And just like the other businesses where we see faceless assessment, whether it is income tax or other departments, we will have the faceless assessment of bill of entry even in the imports and the customs as well. So if I had to summarize this, the entire process which I'm looking at is, yes, we had a problem. There is an issue. Let's face that issue. The good thing is, during the period of pandemic, during the issue, as the most of the time, we had a good amount of relaxation. We had a good amount of procedural advantage. Moving forward, it is going to be challenging. We will be having certain protective measures. At the same time, we will now move to a completely digital, paperless, and ease of doing business will be a key focus. So that's basically what I have to summarize and give it to you. Friends, thank you so much for your patient hearing. For all those who are interested to probably download this copy of presentation for reference, the link is there on your screen. And now we will keep or take questions and open for the questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Mihir. So we have a question from Mr. Amit Mistry.
Yes.
He thinks that they normally import electrical fans from China, and due to the COVID-19 episode, it will impact import from China, specifically electrical goods. I think we've already covered the electrical goods bit as well earlier. So he's
Yes.
saying, what should importers like Mr. Amit do to sustain the market?
Mr. Amit, I think what you need to probably look at is a number one, there's going to be a slight change in the demand as well. Now, if demand being so, I see another look option could be looked at is either where you can get a value added products where it is really making sense for you to import, or rather go back and do a step back whereby look at importing raw materials and trying to change your target market or target audience from the end consumer to the manufacturers, where you are providing them certain components, certain raw materials, which balances out the requirement of import, at the same time keeping the local manufacturing and local vocal thing and Indian make in India concept alive. So that would be my suggestion at the moment.
All right. We have another question from Mr. Katan Shah, who is the
Yeah.
director of Shriji Trading. He says, in import from LDC countries, is physical copy of COO mandatory or provisionally can be released based on the copy and then submit the physical copy later?
Sir, if you are claiming for your preferential certificate of origin, then as per the custom norms, the certificate of origin preferential original is required. However, as per the guideline, provisional.
I think we have lost Mr. Meher again out here. Just give me a moment to get in touch with him. For everyone, whoever has questions, please post your questions. We'll be addressing everything right now. Also, if you want to speak to the speaker directly, there's a raise hand button on the side. You guys can also click on that, and I'll just give mic access.
To import on a provisional basis without any issue of that. But obviously,
Hi,
subsequently, you will have to get it finalized.
Mihir,
Your
sorry,
provisional
we
bill of
lost
entry will
you
not
again.
remain as it is.
Mihir, we lost you again. Could you address this
Oh, is it? Sorry.
particular? Yeah, could you just address this particular question once again?
Oh, okay. I thought the video, but okay.
Yeah,
So, am I audible now?
yeah, audible. Yeah,
Okay. So, yeah. So, what I was referring to is, what's the gentleman's name who asked me the question? Mr. Shah.
Katan Shah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jatin bhai, the point is you can use the provision. So, as far as preferential certificate of origin is concerned, whenever you're taking the benefit of the free trade agreement, at the moment, we still require the original certificate of origins, the preferential certificate of origin, a physical copy. But in case if you're finding any difficult to get those physical copy, you are eligible for getting a provisional certificate of origin. I mean, provisional bill of entry passed. So you can get the provisional certificate of origin cleared, get the goods into your factory, and as soon as you receive those original certificate of origin, you can get your bill of entry assessed for the finalization, and then pay the necessary duty, if any, or get the bill of entry finalized. There will be a requirement of certain bond and a bond and undertaking because you're not giving the original certificate of. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have another question from Mr. Vinayak Pad, who is the director of Translifters. He says, how will the paper recycling industry be affected since as of now there's a huge shortage of laborers, lack of new orders, which holds back the mill owners from resuming the operation. So he wants to understand how will the paper recycling industry be affected.
Well, sir, to be very honest, I would not be an expert on a very specific industry, but what I can understand is yes, laborers and the people who are the manpower which has now got back to their hometowns, and that's a small challenge which is going to be affecting many aspects of it. maybe that also gives you a small food for thought of how can the things be more automized or system driven. But at the same time, we also have to understand that there's no immediate. So see, when you have a startup of an operations back, there is a the big challenge which I always look at, or I'm focusing at the moment is there a demand which is being generated at the moment? So consumer demand of any items or any products is still not really picking up. People are still very spectacle, very reluctant. They are not very vocal about buying stuff. They still are very fearful. So we any which ways will not have. So having goods manufactured and storing it in a godown is not your aim. Your aim is to sell, for which you'll have to look at demand. Uh, Paper recycling industry, I believe, as a concept and as an industry, obviously has a huge market. I mean, anything to do with recycling in India, in the world, has always been appreciated and looked as a very positive side. Again, with the kind of nature and the other fury we are talking about. So you will have to look at the other models of where and what can you do. Maybe can you do smaller operations with less amount of manpower. You can do smaller quantities and just get that turnaround happening, is something which I'm. But again, a specific industry will be something which I would not be in a position to comment on.
All right. We had received certain mails also with respect to queries. So just for everyone, and it could be a benefit for a lot of people.
Yes.
Uh, we had this query from Mr. Viral from Avan Appliances. He had said that his question is, what are the chances of government imposing COVID tax or cess on imports?
Wow,
And
I was so hoping that this question somebody would ask, and I was so hoping that I don't want to answer that.
okay, so he is also asked on how will it affect the import procedures and processes.
Uh, let's be honest. This has been a buzz, and there's been a lot of press mongering and a lot of been around that there will be some COVID duty or a COVID tax. There's been discussion at various forums that plastic pe hoga, petrol pe hoga, sin items pe hoga, this and that. So there is a lot of discussion. However, at least to my understanding, there is no official word from anywhere in the government. And to be very honest, unless and until we get the real picture, so whether it is be on all products, whether it will be on certain products, whether it will be 1% or whether it will be 5% or whether it will be 20%. I mean, let's not just go into that. Whatever will happen, you have no choice. My only thing is, if we are able to focus and if we are able to set the demand and the process in general in place, as and when what will happen in case if the COVID duty comes in, we will have to relook at that point of time. But at the moment, let's wait and watch.
All right. I hope Mr. Weasel is listening to this, and if you have any further query, please feel free to send us a mail. We also have a question from Mr. Aditya Munch. He
Yes.
says, "What is the effect on India and China trade post-COVID situation on specifically to trade agreements and duties?" And also, he wants to understand the possible effects on post-COVID duty structure.
I think it's the same thing. So what you're referring to is probably the COVID-19 duty, or COVID duty, as we are probably buzzing around. Let me again give you a very clear picture. There is no embargo. There is no restriction. Even today, import from China is coming. There is nothing of. There's a probably a it's a personal perception. There's a demand. People's choices have changed. Probably a euphoria around that. Okay, we don't want Chinese goods. But to be very honest, there is no government regulation which says we are not going to allow certain Chinese goods, or there's no embargo. You are allowed to import Chinese goods in case if it is coming under any free trade agreement, whether it is APTA or any of those, because we don't have an India-China free trade agreement, but any of those multilateral agreements under which China is also part of it, you are still given those added advantage of the FTA, and there is completely as a normal import how it comes. Future how the duty structure will change, we'll have to wait and watch. Like we are seeing in the cases of very specific products where anti-dumping duty, the non-tariff measures have been and tariff measures have been put. In fact, let me tell you something about in general where another aspect has happened now, especially with the steel products. I don't know how many of you are into business of steel. So there is a huge list of about 100 and odd items, 111 items to be precise, where government has imposed a BIS standard. So, a Bureau of Indian Standards is compulsory. A particular standard has to be met in case you're manufacturing it or you're importing it. So now that's a kind of a restriction which has been done. But look at the hindsight, it is also bringing quality goods. So there is going to be a BIS implementation. Of course, it's a phase manner. Many items have already been implemented. Lot many will be implemented from October, November, and so on and so forth. But there are about 100 odd items where BIS standards will implement, and that would implement it even in imports as well.
So, as like you mentioned, in terms of import duties and everything, I mean, we have certain comments on how the import duty on certain commodities have increased. For example, on furniture from China. Do you see a particular trend on any particular commodities and through which the import duty will be impacted?
See, I certainly see that there will be import duty impacted on a lot of finished products and a lot of, I would say, consumer high-end items. Let's be honest on that. So, but again, we will have to do analysis with what is importable and what is manufactured or what is available in India. I mean, just putting an import duty on something which is where we are non-competitive or we are not available or we are not able to manufacture is going to be, striking a goal on our side. So we'll have to look at both. Secondly, we also have to see that how much of our imports is required for our manufacturing industry to export, because we don't want to break that channel. I mean, there is a challenge there as well, and you don't want to right now keep on convincing your foreign buyer to change the raw material and change everything and opt for another processes. So those will also not get affected to my understanding, but very high-end consumer probably goods should get a little impacted because of the duties which may come up in future.
Alright, what are your views on the dropshipping industry? Do you think the dropshipping industry will be impacted?
See, drop shipment industry, I don't see it all again depends if your drop shipping source was China, then I mean there is certain euphoria and certain buzz around the products from China. But if your drop shipping the shipment was from any other country apart from China, and I'm not saying that China will not be there, but I'm just saying in general. But at the moment there is a buzz for you know Chinese origin goods. But otherwise, I don't see a challenge. Only thing is we as at the moment in India, whether it is an export or an import, if you're doing a drop shipment through as an Indian company, you have to understand that that product has to be, it should not be restricted or prohibited. So unless if that is not a problem, I see a good possibility that you are going to be able to source the products across the world. You might be able to look at. In fact, there could be a good opportunities to find good manufacturers in some other small countries, touched countries where you are able to get, and because of certain just the advantage of country of origin in the sense is it's not from that country which people are not wanting to. So whether it is Vietnam, Japan, Philippines, Korea, wherever you are going to be able to source, or maybe Bangladesh, or maybe India. Uh, of course, for drop shipping, but I think it's a good potential. I don't see a major change in drop shipment, not at all.
All right, so this we have the last question for today. Any this is from Mr. Rapaka Murthy. He's saying, are there any custom duty concessions for MSME units, particularly when it comes to imports?
No, sir. There is nothing of import duty waivers or no advantages if you're an MSME unit as far as customs duty is concerned, sir. Custom duty is an entry tax. It is equal for whether you are an MSME or a large scale. So unfortunately, there is no specific custom duty waiver. I'm sure nobody is even uh, approached MSME ministry with that thought, because typically that's an entry tax. So there's no waivers on MSME for that.